Rimac Automobili isn't your average car company. Heck, it's not even your average niche market automaker. Aside from its humble beginnings back in 2009, when its founder's hobby of converting gasoline cars to electric turned a little more serious, Rimac has, to date, only produced one vehicle, the Rimac Concept 1 supercar. And while its performance specifications have been more than enough to get it the attention it deserves, only 8 examples were ever made and sold at an eye-watering $980,000 each. Then again, for that price, you're getting a 2.8 second 0 to 100 kph sprint time, 2.4 seconds for newer models, 913 kilowatts of combined power on the road, and a 90 kilowatt-hour battery pack giving Tesla-like range. Despite its limited production of the Rimac Concept 1, however, Rimac hasn't been far from the spotlight, providing race director transportation at Formula E races across the world, showcasing a track-ready version of the Rimac Concept 1 called the Concept S, and being crashed by a certain Richard Hammond. So when Rimac proclaimed it would be unveiling a brand new car at this year's Geneva Motor Show, I got quite excited. And when the Rimac C2 was unveiled, we knew it was a car that you should pay attention to. Building on the engineering of the Rimac Concept 1, the C2 features some pretty impressive specs. With 1.408 megawatts of power at the wheel, it produces 2,300 newton meters at the motor. That's 1,696 pound-feet of torque. And Rimac says it can manage the 0 to 62 miles per hour, 0 to 100 kph sprint in 1.97 seconds. It'll keep going on from there too, hitting 186 miles per hour, that's 300 kph, in 11.8 seconds thanks to its twin-gear drivetrain. What's the big deal, I hear you say? After all, the Tesla Model S P100D, a full-size electric sedan, manages 0 to 60 miles per hour in 2.5 seconds, and Tesla's upcoming 2019 Roadster is promised to hit 60 miles per hour in 1.9 seconds and 100 miles per hour in 4.2 seconds. You're right on both counts, but the Rimac C2 isn't going after Tesla. It's going after Bugatti, I think, whose Veyron Supersport, which does the 0 to 300 kph sprint in 14.6 seconds, and its Chiron, which does the same in 13.6 seconds. And while the Bugatti Veyron Supersport still has the edge on overall top speed, hitting 267 miles per hour, that's 431 kph where allowed, the Rimac isn't far behind. It claims a top speed of 258 miles per hour or 412 kph. What's more, we think the Rimac might be cheaper. The Bugatti Veyron Supersport was sold for $2.7 million, and the Chiron isn't much cheaper. Granted, we don't know how much the new Rimac will cost, but it should be cheaper than either. Just as Tesla went after the sports car segment in its early days with the first-generation Roadster, it does seem as if Rimac wants the hypercar market, and based on those specs, I think it will be able to grab it. The rest of the Rimac C2 specs are equally impressive. It's got a 120 kilowatt-hour battery pack and 250 kilowatt DC quick charging capabilities. It has a drag coefficient of 0.28 when in its low drag mode. That's less than the Model S, but better than either of the aforementioned Bugattis. Inside, there's a fully modern, fully customized interior designed for touring, not just track use, with a full-color LCD dash, decent-sized touchscreen center console, and even an LCD on the shifter, which I haven't seen on any other car. It's also packed with 8 cameras, 12 ultrasonic sensors, 6 radars, and up to 2 LiDARs, which Rimac says will be paired with the excellent NVIDIA Drive AI system that Kate was geeking out at CES about this year. That should give the Rimac C2 full Level 4 autonomy when it launches in 2020. All in all then, this is a fantastically impressive car on paper. Sure, it's not in production yet, and yes, Tesla should get the next generation Roadster to market ahead of the Rimac C2. And with just 150 production units planned, the Rimac C2 isn't going to be a car that's going to have much of an effect on everyday car drivers, right? Except, I think it will. Sure, Tesla has done the groundwork in changing the minds of millions of people around the world, and this car will just be a rich person's plaything. But just as internal combustion engine hypercars help develop and test new technology that eventually trickles down into consumer vehicles, so too, I think, some of the tech that Rimac develops for this crazy new EV will trickle down into electric vehicles that you and I can ultimately afford. Which brings me to the final point. Rimac isn't going to be the next Tesla, but it's going to be a company that is likely going to offer its engineering prowess to regular automakers at some point in the future, either on a per-job basis like McLaren or through an acquisition, and that's very exciting indeed. Sure, the jury is out on if Rimac will succeed with the C2, but we certainly should be paying attention to this car company. That's it. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.